where we are focused on connecting to and building community. We are committed to helping individuals break cycles. We are delighted that you have taken the opportunity to join us. So prepare yourselves for this week's teaching and equipping session. Get ready to be educated, equipped, and set free as you listen to this week's broadcast. And thank you for joining us.
Hey, y'all. Hi, everybody. It is Monday, and this is supposed to be Sister to Sister Monday, but Apostle has asked that we postpone it 1 week. Our guest speakers who are going to join us for this message that is going to be released through Sister to Sister are not able to join us tonight. So I got a word and I said, listen, I got it. I'll deliver it. I'm ready. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to go. So I am so excited you guys are joining us tonight. And I want to thank you guys for, sticking with us and joining us in worship, joining us in prayer, and also joining us for our weekly sessions that we have tonight. Going at the same time is men's ministry also. So I want to definitely send some kudos and some love out to the men in the ministry. Let them know we are supporting them and we are cheering them on as they continue to do the work that God has commanded them to do. But here tonight, ladies, we are joining together for exit strategy. God gave me this word. He started downloading it about 2 weeks ago. And I called Apostle and I said, I keep hearing it. God keeps downloading even more. So much to the point where I start to wonder, am I supposed to release this now? Do I release this next Sunday? Like, when am I supposed to release it? And it was just so loud in my ears yesterday that I was like, I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to give the word. I know God is saying release it at this time. So I'm going to release this word tonight. Exit strategies. God will get the glory from this. You guys, for those who don't know, I am Cunningham with the Dream Team of Cincinnati, Ohio. We are located in Forest Park at 636 Northland Boulevard. We meet every Sunday morning for 1 hour, every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do broadcast those sessions live, so you can see that on YouTube, you can see that on Facebook, you can see that on our website. So do join us for those sessions from 9 to 10 a.m. We do have Sister to Sister every third Monday. Men's Empowerment, they meet each and every Monday at 7 p.m. Sister to Sister is every third Monday at 7 p.m. We also have an awesome marriage ministry with DREEMM, and I'm so lucky to be partners with the team that does this. LaShawn and Darren Aiden, they are awesome sauce. And so they do marriage ministry every third Friday at 7 p.m. So definitely check that out. If you are a couple that is in need of counseling services or anything like that, even if you're getting ready or prepared for marriage ministry or getting ready for marriage, you definitely want to make sure you have premarital counseling. Me and my husband talked yesterday about our one session that we had with our counselor. Make sure you have more than one. Make sure you have more so you are prepared for everything that comes with marriage and everything that comes with just a beautiful union and coming together beyond the wedding day. Okay, beyond that, we want to prep you for everything that comes next. So definitely check out Marriage Enrichment, which is every third Friday. If you are a couple that needs marriage counseling, I start to go on that. Let me go back. You can always call us, or you can send us an email to set up an appointment with our marriage team. LaShawn and Darren will be awesome, and we'll definitely reach back out to you and get you scheduled for a session as soon as possible, so that you guys can make sure that you're ready for the next phase of marriage. For those of you who are interested in deliverance, we are a deliverance ministry. We are an equipping ministry. We are an educating ministry where we educate you, but we also do deliverance as well. If that is something that you're looking for, you can always email us for more information about that and to walk you through the process. So let's get into tonight, because I don't want to hold up or keep you guys too long. I definitely want to get this word out that God has given me. So let's get started. We are actually going to go to Exodus. So we're going to start at Exodus 10 in just a few seconds. But one of the things I thought about as I was studying this weekend, reading about the children of Israel and studying about Moses, one of the things I thought is God could have delivered them any number of ways. Any number of ways. It could have been a simple process to deliver them out of the hands of Pharaoh and out of Egypt and send them to the place that God has ordained for them, the place that was mandated for his people. He could have done that any number of ways, and it could have been so much easier. He could have just changed Pharaoh's heart. He could have just opened the gates. He could have just made all the Egyptians fall asleep. He could have done any number of things. So why did we go through all of the plagues, all of the situations? Why did the firstborn have to die? Why did we go through all of this to get to the end goal? See, I started asking that question and just researching and going back and reading some things. So we are actually going to talk about why this way, and we're going to get into exit strategies, because many of us are going through situations right now where we need a strategy. We need God to help us get out of this. And I need you to understand the process that goes into getting an exit or getting out of where you are. So we're going to talk about that tonight, and we're going to go really into detail. So let's turn with me to Exodus 10, 1 through 2. That's where we're going to start off. Exodus 10, verses 1 through 2. So it says, the Lord said to Moses, go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of all of his officials, so that I may perform these signs of mine among them, that you may tell your children and grandchildren how I dealt harshly with the Egyptians and how I performed my signs among them, and that you may know that I am the Lord. Now, first thing that stood out to me in that verse, if we go back to 1, it says, God says, for I have hardened the heart of Pharaoh and of his officials. So God already knew before anything happened that their hearts were hardened, that they were not going to be light. They wouldn't go say, oh, okay, well, Moses said he need to take his people, the children of Israel, he need to take them out into the wilderness so they can worship God. Okay, that's cool. Go ahead and do it. That wasn't going to be the case. This was going to be a case of us needing to figure this out. This is going to be a case of hard coming to them over and over again and hearing no every single time. No matter what I would say God would do next, Pharaoh was going to say no, because after every time that Moses went before Pharaoh, God will harden the heart of Pharaoh. So he will harden his heart against them. Now, can we agree that this wasn't the easiest way that God could have accomplished this? Can we just agree about that? That this was not an easy way or an easy manner or an easy issue. This was not something that was just, an easy walk in the park. And a lot of times when God tells us to do something, or when we find out that God is saying you're coming out of this, we assume that we just gonna breeze on out the door. That the door just gonna open and we gonna walk out celebrating and jumping and hopping and skipping and dancing because we coming out of this thing. What happens when that's not the case? When every exit strategy you think that God is giving you, God goes, that's not the strategy this time. And not only is that not the strategy, but it's going to be hard. You're going to come up against opposition. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have people come against you and say, this is not the way it's supposed to go. You gonna hear no over and over again. Then imagine how for a second, how that would have sounded to Moses, who started out telling God, I ain't the one to sin. I have a stuttering problem. I don't speak well. Send somebody else. I'm not of the caliber that should be going before Pharaoh. I just escaped out of there. I ran out of there with my life and barely made it. I had to cross over the desert and I barely survived. And now you're telling me to go back to the place that I ran out of? Return to the place that almost killed me, almost took me out to help some people get released, my people get released. But who am I to tell Pharaoh to let them go? Who am I? Will he even listen to me? Will he understand me when I get to stuttering? See, many of us will start to present to God our issues when God gives us a plan, or when he starts to call you and tell you who you are. We start to tell God why you can't do it. God, listen. If you knew my background, you would choose somebody else. If you knew what I did, you would choose somebody else. God, I don't even have the credentials to get in front of you. God, I don't know enough Bible verses to get up and speak your word. God, I don't know enough syllables to put together. I don't have enough accolades. Nobody even knows me. I'm from a small town in the back of nowhere. Don't nobody even know where this town is. How dare I stand before people and say, but God said, thus saith the Lord. What if they don't even know you? What if they don't recognize you as God? What if they celebrate and praise and worship other false gods? What if that's what they do? So when I say my God, the Holy of of Holies, when I start to stand before them and tell them of all the things you've done, what if they look at me like I'm crazy? Because it don't sound like it makes sense for me to be saying that my God has done these things. What if God already knew that the response that Pharaoh would have to the situation did not catch him by surprise. God already knew that Pharaoh's heart was hardened, so he wasn't shocked by Pharaoh's response, but I bet Moses was. See, Moses probably thought, I'm going to come in, I'm going to drop this staff, it's going to turn into a snake, I'm going to turn the water into blood, God is going to make that happen, and then Pharaoh going to be like, yeah, y'all go ahead and go. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to be coming back home. I don't think he ever anticipated how long this was going to last. And if you get caught behind that, God says you're coming out of this and you start thinking, it's been 4 hours, I haven't come out yet. It's been 5 days, I haven't come out yet. It's been 2 weeks, the situation hasn't changed. I've been praying for the marriage and things haven't worked out yet. I've been praying for 3 months and he's still talking crazy. She's still acting insane. I've been praying for the financial blessing. God, you said you were going to increase my finances. I'm still working the same job and nothing's happening. I started the business and nothing has changed. We're still struggling. We didn't get the loans that we applied for. We didn't get the grants that we went after. God, nothing has changed in this situation. I'm still dealing with the same issues. So we start putting a time limit on God. If this situation doesn't change in 3 days, I'm going back to where I came from. Because see, when you go back, you know what to expect there. When I go forward and I walk towards God and I walk on faith, I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm relying on God, and relying that much on God may cause you to question when things around you start to go crazy. You may want to go backwards, back to where you're comfortable at, because the faith is an uncomfortable walk. It ain't always a feel-good walk. It ain't always an easy walk. Sometimes it's challenging. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it can even be scary. Sometimes it can cause you to get doubt. Sometimes you not only have the enemy speaking to you, but you got people close to you. That's why yesterday when my husband and I were speaking, we said it's very important that you pay attention to who's speaking in your ear. Because not everybody with their mouth open is speaking what God has said. Not everybody with the title is speaking what God is saying. Not everybody as a pastor or a leader or an executive is speaking what God is saying. That's why it's important that you have relationship for self, that you can hear from yourself, that you can get into the word for yourself. You can't always depend on everybody around you to give you a word. I need to go straight to the source. I need to go straight to the source. God, I need to hear from you. Some of us need an encounter. And that's really what this was about. That's really the message behind everything that was happening with Moses. See, the children of Israel may have heard the stories of this is the God of Abraham, this is the God of Isaac, this is the God of Jacob. They may have heard those stories. But that doesn't mean that it's the God of me. See, I can't get saved off of how God delivered my mama. I can't get saved after how he delivered my grandmother. Although it may have an impact on my life, it may cause me to run to him and listen a little bit more closely. But there is something else that happens when you have an encounter for yourself. When God shows up in your life, in your situation, when every door is closing all around you and God steps in like the mighty God that he is and makes a way out of no way, a way that you couldn't have even anticipated if you wanted to. There is something that happens when God shows up like that. And some of us need an encounter. And that is the reason why we struggle so much when it comes to faith, is because I've never had an encounter, God. I've never known the God of Isaac and Jacob and Abraham. I've never known the God of God. I've never known the God of Deborah or LaShawn. I don't know that God. All I know is the Bible studies, the Bible stories in the Bible, but sometimes I even question if that's real. I even start to question if God even hears me when I speak, if God is even listening to me, because I haven't had a true encounter with him yet. Over time, we'll notice that stories start to get twisted. That's the one thing that we'll start to notice. So, we used to play this game when I was in elementary school. The game was called telephone. And so everybody would line up in a circle. I don't know why we played this in gym class, but we played it in gym class. Everybody would line up in a circle, and the person would start off by whispering to something in the ear of the person next to them. And they would go down the line whispering that same story. And then when it got to the end of the line, the last person would say, "You said," and they would say what they heard. And you would notice as the story went along and progressed from person to person, everybody would hear something differently. You couldn't repeat what you said. You could only say it one time, and that person would have to pick up on the one time you said it. You know, different dialects, the way people whisper, people, the way they hear things. We noticed that the story would change. Well, I'm quite sure that's what happened with the children of Israel. Over the years, the story of Abraham, the story of Isaac, the story of Jacob, the story of how God had brought them out, the story often may have changed. And so because the story changed, it may have caused us to miss an encounter. So I know I heard that God could do this, but I don't know that God can do this. I know we're supposed to pray for a deliverer, but I don't know that God can deliver us. I know we are supposed to think about, the God who can open doors and make ways, but I've never met or I don't know that God. I've never seen that God. I've never experienced that God. All I've ever experienced is what's around me. See, your current visual will equal your overall perspective. What I see around me when I open up my eyes, that is going to be my perspective. So God may be in a little box for me because all I see is turmoil. All I see is struggle. We're working hard. We're getting beat day after day. We are the slaves of these Egyptians. We are here to work up under them. So to me, God may be in a little box. Whereas if you ask Abraham, God is in a mighty big box. God, and if you ask other people, they may say, God ain't even in a box. He's bigger than that. He's way bigger than that because of my experience with him, my own perspective. So when I come to you and tell you about a God who helped come in and caused me to start, my heart to start beating when doctors were basically waving their hands going, she's not going to make it. Call her family, let them know we're done. She's gone. We're calling her now. She's dead. So when I started to tell you about a God who, when a doctor gave up, God stepped in. I know that story. I lived that story. I was there. I experienced that. So when I tell you with a different intensity. But if you've never had an encounter, if you never had an experience, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. You know what I was thinking about the other day? When someone is alive and they hurt us, when anybody mentions that person's name, anybody brings them up, they come around, all you can think about is the hurt that person has caused. And even if it's not someone who hurt you personally, maybe you know somebody that this person hurt. That is all you can think about. But let a person die. As soon as they die, all of a sudden, we want to tell the good stories that they did. We want to tell how they helped us, how they were a good person. They was in church every Sunday. We may not personally know that person. We may not have had any experience with them, but once that person is gone, the narrative of the story changes, the perspective changes, because we can't create new memories with them. It's funny how often sometimes the people who are very close to us, we neglect. But once that person passes, we break down because we imagine all the things we will not get to have with that person. We will not get to experience with that person. It's all gone at this point. And so now the only thing you can remember are the good times. You won't remember the bad times. You won't remember that person cussing you out. You won't remember that whooping you got from your mama. All you're going to remember is my mama made the best fried chicken. My mom made the best macaroni and cheese. My mom made sure every holiday was special. My mom made sure every birthday was unique. My mom did this. My dad did this. My great-grandmother did this. My great-aunt did this. And every time you talk about that person, you are only going to remember the good memories. See, I have to think the children of Israel, as time went past, only remembered certain things. And as time genuinely went on, and they start to struggle more, they start to really be beat and really be cast out and really be knocked down. As they start to go through all of this, it was harder to remember the good times, the celebration. It was harder to remember the times where God stepped in and the times where God did some awesome things. And so it was easier for them to relate to a God that could potentially do it, but I've never seen him do it. I've never seen him do it. I believe in this time God wanted to show himself, because as we look at the chapter, it's verse 2 in Exodus 10, it says that you may tell your children and your grandchildren how I dealt harshly with the Egyptians and how I performed my signs among them, and that you will know that I am Lord. He wanted them to know without a doubt, this is your encounter. So I'm going to show myself to you, so you won't be relying on the words of somebody else. You won't be relying on the stories that your grandma told you that God did an awesome thing. And 4 generations from now, we won't still be telling grandma's story. We would have forgotten grandma's stories 4 generations down the line. We would be talking about our current perspective, our current visuals, which will be our overall perspective. What I see right now, I may not know my great grandmother's story and how God blessed her. I don't know. I wouldn't know that. But I can tell you of my current perspective, how God blessed me. Well, God wanted to set a precedent so that the story will be told throughout the generations, over and over and over, that they will know that this is a testimony of how good and how awesome God is. Now, I want us to go to Exodus 12 because there's some important pieces that I want to bring out here. Now, I'm going to do quite a bit of reading, so I want you guys to follow with me. But we're going to talk about this. We're going to break this thing down point by point. We're actually going to read Exodus 12, 1 through 13. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, this month is to be for you the first month of the rest of the year. This is to be the first month. Tell the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of the month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, one for each household. If any household is too small for a whole lamb, they must share one with their neighbors. Have taken into account the number of people there are. You are to determine the amount of lamb needed in accordance with what each person will eat. The animal you choose must be 1-year-old male without defect, and you may take them from the sheep or the goat. Take care of them until the 14th day of the month, when all of the members of the community of Israel must slaughter them at twilight. Okay. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and the top of the door frames of the house where they eat lamb. The same night they are to eat the meat roasted over a fire along with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. Do not eat raw or boiled in water, but roast over a fire with the head, legs, and internal organs. Do not leave any of it till morning. If some is left till morning, you must burn it. This is how you are to eat it, with your cloak tucked into your belt, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. On that same night, I will pass through Egypt and strike down every firstborn of both people of animals. Of every firstborn of people and animals. And I will bring judgment on the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt. Now, the first thing I want you to get out of that, before we even get into it, let me establish something first. The people were praying for a deliverer, and God sent them Moses. God rarely sends you what you pray for. God will always send you in seed form. God will send it in seed form. Moses was a seed, because what I thought in my mind it was going to take to get out of here, it took more than that. What I thought in my mind, who God was going to send to deliver us, he sent me somebody who has a stuttering problem. He sent me somebody who I know killed somebody here in Egypt and then ran and left us here. He sent him to come and deliver us. And if you're not careful, you will curse the seed. You got to be really careful of the words that come out of your mouth when God gives you the seed, because the seed is a requirement from you. There is something you've got to do in order for that seed to come into fruition. Now, in order for that seed to grow into a harvest, there's something you have to do. If I plant a seed out in my garden right now and I don't water it, I don't take care of it, I don't trim weeds back, I don't do nothing. I just plant it and I sit on my porch and I wait for the harvest, I'm not going to get one. 9 out of 10, that seed might die because it may not have enough water. The soil may not be the right soil that I need. It depends on the type of time of the year that I plant it. Is it a seed that grows at this time of year or is it not? There's a lot of things that have to go into this. And if you're not careful, you will curse the seed instead of doing what you need to do in order to reap a harvest. So when they looked at Moses, it would have been really easy for them to discount it and say, God didn't listen to us. He didn't hear nothing we said. He sent us this man. We gonna be here forever. That would have been easy for them to do. We just gonna be here struggling and we never gonna see, we not gonna get out. We just might as well just go back out to the field. We might as well just prepare to be slaves for the rest of our lives. That's what you could have done with the wrong mindset and the wrong words, because we know what comes out the mouth, what flows out the mouth. We already know we come into agreement with that thing. So you got to be careful with what you're speaking out of your mouth. Your words have power. Your words have power. And I want God to give me the harvest. I just don't want to deal with the seed. I don't want to deal with that part. God, I want you to deliver us because I know you can deliver us, but I don't want to have to deal with what comes with the requirements of being delivered. No, I thought you was just going to open the gate and let us out. I didn't know we was going to have to deal with locusts and we was going to have to deal with frogs and we was going to have to deal with warts and all that. I didn't know none of this was going to happen. I don't want to be delivered anymore. I'm going to just stay right here. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's doable. And have you backtracking back to where you're comfortable at. See, your exit strategy is going to require some things of you. It's going to require that you're ready to endure. It's not going to be an easy transition. It's going to require that you step up into position. It's going to require you to be ready to fight right along with it. God is not going to make it easy for you. And that's why a lot of Christians end up going back into the world, because I didn't know I was going to have to endure all of this. I didn't know that the warfare was going to be this intense. I didn't know that I was going to have to struggle this much. I thought it was going to be easy, God. I thought you were just going to open the doors and all of a sudden we was just going to come skipping out. Nobody told me that you would give me a seed and I would have to do some work. Nobody told me that part. They didn't ask me when they said the doors of the church are open. They didn't pull me to the side and say, now look, here's a disclaimer. Before you go up here for prayer and accept Jesus in your life, let me just tell you some stuff, okay? Let's just cover some things before you go here. Did nobody do that? They told me the doors of the church are open and I went up. I accepted Jesus Christ and then I went back to my seat and everybody cheered and I thought it was good. I didn't know as soon as I walked out the church, the devil was going to jump on me immediately. I didn't know this. I didn't know I was going to get fired from my job the next day. I didn't know my kids were going to start acting crazy. I didn't know my marriage was going to fall apart. I didn't know that the bills were going to come. And I've been saying, I plead the blood of Jesus. I plead the blood of Jesus. I plead the blood of Jesus. And I'm still dealing with the same situation. I didn't know this. I didn't know this. But God will get the glory from this. He'll get the glory. See, I said Moses was a seed, so let's talk about some things that you should have got out of that. First of all, God has started by us reestablishing their calendars so that they will never forget it. That was the first thing he did. He said, this will be the first day of the first month. It doesn't matter if it's the 10th month on the calendar. It doesn't matter if it's the 12th month. Y'all are going to recognize today as your very first day. You're going to have a new mindset when it comes to coming out. I'm coming out of this. So today is my first day of the come out. Today is my first day of my exit. I'm coming out of this and I'm coming out brand new. And God is going to establish this as the first day. And so he said, first of all, it is the first day, and I want you to remember this forever. So that meant every year when they got back to that day, their calendar started all over again. Now this is the first day of the first of the year. We're going to celebrate like New Year's. I don't care that y'all celebrate like New Year's 9 months ago. I'm going to celebrate like New Year's today because God reestablished today as my come out day. The next thing he did, everyone had to line up who was in the community, which means there was a separation that took place. That was thing number 2. So everybody in the community, if you're in the community, you got to do X, Y, Z. If you're not in the community, then you don't have to. Now, if I live next door to the community and I decide, I don't think my exit should require all of this, so I'm not going to do all of it, you're not in the community. Okay? So let's establish that and let's talk about what that means. So for those people who are going, I can be a compromised Christian, you're not in the community. For those who are going, I can stand up in the pulpit and preach God's word and I can tell everybody about how awesome God is, but I can slide right out of the pulpit afterwards and I can slide into somebody's bed afterwards who's not my husband or my wife. I can abuse and mistreat my spouse. I can talk crazy to them. And when I get in church, I'm hallelujah and praising the Lord and shouting till the church fall down. You're not in the community. You're not in the community. See, we talked about yesterday, when you know sin, you are now accountable for it. So you can't come in and go, well, I prayed about it and I asked God for forgiveness. I am now accountable for my actions after this point when I know this is a sin. I know it's a sin to lie. So when I lie, guess what? I'm sinning. You know it's a sin. I know it's a sin to commit murder. So if I commit murder, I'm sinning. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You know what you're doing. So you can't throw the flag up of ignorance. You're not in the community. so you got to get it together. And the community had requirements. There were certain things that they had to do to make sure that they were prepared and ready for what came next. See, God said you got to do all of these steps, and you can't just say, I'm going to do this one, but I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to kind of do this one because that makes sense, like cooking lamb, but I don't really want it roasted. I want it boiled. I don't want roasted lamb. And I don't, blood around my door. I'm not really feeling that, so I'm not going to do that part either because that's, I don't want nothing to do with that. And I don't really eat lamb. I only eat like roasted vegetables, so I'm not about to eat lamb. I'm not going to do that. Or goat. I don't eat either one. So how about I just go get some fish? Let me get what I eat. And that's how a lot of us do. We try to make it so that I can kind of compromise lifestyle. I kind of fit in where I want to get in. But if God raises the standard just a little bit, I can't do that. If God makes a requirement of my seed, I can't participate in this. I'm not going to do it. So God clearly defined either you're in the community or you're out of it. If you're in the community, you need to do these things. If you don't do these things, you're not in the community. Next thing, no excuses allowed. What did that mean? So if the household is too small for a whole lamb, they must share one with their nearest neighbor, having taken into account the number of people there are. So let's talk about that. So if my household was too small to have a whole lamb, then I needed to meet with someone else who had a household that could eat the rest of the lamb. We could share one together. So in other words, there was no excuses for anybody to go without. There was provision being made for everybody. Everybody had to participate because we are all in the community. So we're going to do this together. And that's the thing about being in a community. We look out for each other. We account for one another. See, we talked about this yesterday when we talked about the uncompromised marriage. It was never to beat anybody down. It was to bring awareness because sometimes we sin and we're not aware that this is a sin. So sometimes I could be compromised and I don't really know that I'm compromised. I just know everybody else does it this way. So I'm going to do it the same way everybody else do it. My pastor does this. I'm going to do the same thing he does. My first lady does this. The usher board does this. My youth leader does this. So I'm going to do the same thing they did. And over time, you just keep doing it, not realizing you have been compromised. I have been compromised. And so this was we're going to make sure there's provision for the entire community so that everybody is aware of what has to take place tonight to keep our houses safe, to keep our children safe. We have to do this. This is the mandate made by God. And I want to make sure you are ready and prepared for the mandate that God has given. And he has given me provision. So you come over with your family and let's make sure we all eat. Let's make sure we all in line. I love the way the ministries, we've connected with some ministries here in Cincinnati where they all work together. It's called the Gate Ministry. And so although I have my church, you have your church, they have their church, we're not separated because we understand how the body of Christ works. And so the entire body is connected. We may be an elbow. The elbow can't take where the brain goes. The elbow you can't see out of your elbow. You can't walk off of your elbow. You have feet for that. But I'm going to be a strong elbow because I understand where my position is and what I'm supposed to do in the body. So I'm going to be where God told me to be and what God told me to be. I'm not going to be trying to move from the elbow to the eye or to the nose or to the mouth. I'm going to stay where God has positioned me and do what he's called me to do so that the body can function and flow the way God ordained for it to flow. That's what we're supposed to do. But so often we find ministries that are siloed. I don't want nobody but the members of my church. And I ain't talking to nobody who not one of our members. And I ain't about to pray for nobody who not doing this. Outreach, go to the neighborhoods. Oh no, we're not about to do that. We only worship inside of our walls. We don't do anything else. And if you're not a tither, you're not a member here, okay? So I don't care what's happening in your house. I don't care what's going on, who crazy, who doing this, who doing that. I'm not here to save you. You're not a member of our church. We mess up and we get out of order. We get out of order. Jesus said to Peter, if you love me, protect my sheep. Protect them. You guys, we get out of order because we don't protect the sheep. So there was no excuses allowed. The next thing was you have to know what you can handle. There was no wasting. It said you are to determine the amount of lamb needed in accordance with what each person will eat. In other words, you can't waste it. No being wasteful. No being wasteful. You've got to know what your capacity to handle is. That's one of the terms we use a lot when we deal in management, when we're working with our team members. We deal with capacity to handle. And as a leader, it's my job to be watching my team members to see, are you at your capacity where you go, I can't handle anymore. And I'm looking for the signs so that when you get to that point where I can't handle anymore, I'm coming in to help. How can I help? How can I serve you? What can I do for you? We believe in perfection in servant leadership. That's what we believe in. And so how can I help you do what you're trying to accomplish? Where do you need me to call candidates? Do you need me to phone screen? Do you need me to draft a job description? Do you need me to do some postings for you? What can I do to help? Do you need me to sit on an interview panel? Do you need me to schedule some interviews for the candidates? What do you need me to do? What is the capacity to handle? So that you are not wasting anything. So God told them, make sure that when you eat the lamb, you are portioning off enough for your family so that there is none that is going to be wasted. There is none that would be thrown away. Don't be a glut and eat until you full and you about to explode and fall over and pass out. You don't want to do that. No wasting. The next thing, you must offer up a perfect offering. It says the animals you choose must be 1 year males without defect, and you may take them from sheep or goat. That means your offering has got to be perfect. Without any spots or blemishes, no defects on them. That means don't bring God your junk. He don't want your junk offering. Don't bring God your pocket change. Now, let's be clear, because I've told the story of how a pastor said, you need to bring up an offering, I'm going to give you a word, and all I had in my pocket was change. That was it. I didn't have anything else. And the change I had was really supposed to get me from that day until a few days later, till when I got paid. And so I said, God, I don't have anything else. This is all I have, but everything I have, I'm giving to you. Now, that's a different thing. That's not your junk. That is your absolute best. See, it was a different thing. We were literally living paycheck to paycheck. But when I have better, I can give a better offering. But I still just, God, I got $2 in my pocket. Here you go. This is what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you a tip, God. I'm going to give you a tip. No, they were commanded to bring their best. Don't give me no sheep with a broken leg and you trying to get rid of it, but you going to keep your best sheep over to the side. Don't give me no goat that's sick and dying and you going to offer that up as a sacrifice for this night. No. Bring me the very best. A lot of times we get messy in trying to give God our worst. We don't want to give him excellence. God, I'm too tired to get up and pray right now, so I'm going to pray laying in bed. God, you're awesome. God, I'm too tired to read my word tonight and read some scripture, so I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to get up tomorrow, and I'm going to do it tomorrow. Or maybe I'm going to do it at lunchtime, and there's always an excuse why you can't give God your time. We can't give God our best while we just sliding through. But let all hell break loose in your life, and all of a sudden you will sacrifice like no other. You will give up like no other. You will lose sleep every time God turn around. You praying, God, I really need you to come through, God. I really need you to come through. We gonna lose the house, God. God, what is you doing? I need you to turn the hearts around. All of a sudden you find money to give to an offering. Where was it? Where was it? When everything is not chaotic and crazy, where's your worship? Where is your time on your face in front of me? Where is the sacrifice that you give up to God? God, I'm tired, but I'm still going to worship you. If I don't get no sleep tonight, I'm still going to give you praise. God, if I know I'm supposed to be at work in 2 hours, and I know, but I need to take a moment and I need to be in your presence. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong. Ain't nothing going crazy. Ain't nothing chaotic around me. I just want to worship you, God, because it could be. It could be crazy. I want to worship you for the calm. I want to worship you and thank you because I know that these things would not be working out for me had it not been for you. So I want to worship you because of that, God, because you're awesome. I just want to worship you because you woke me up this morning. I want to worship you, God, because you gave me breath in my lungs. I want to worship you because I have clothes on my back. I want to worship you because I have a roof over my head. It may not be the house that I wanted. It may not be the car that I wanted. It may not be the clothes that I wanted. But God, it's because of you that I even have what I have. So God, I don't want to forget to worship you. Before I close my eyes tonight, I need to worship you. Not because of fear that I'll wake up in hell, but because you're awesome. And you deserve all my praise. Where's your sacrificial worship? Where is it? Where is it? The next thing he said is there is a specific time when you were to offer up your sacrificial offering. There was a specific time. If we look at verse 6, it says, take care of them until the 14th day. That means you have to nurture the seed. Let that sit there for a minute and marinate. You've got to nurture that seed. That means that this is not you just putting a flower out in the yard and I'm just let the elements take care of it. This is not the seed that you just put in the ground and just walk away and never come back and you just looking out on your porch every day looking for the harvest to come up. No, you have to take care of it and nurture it. There's a requirement of you that you have to meet. It says on the 14th day of the month, when all of the members of the community of Israel must slaughter them at twilight. That means there's a specific time that you are supposed to slaughter the sacrifice. There's a specific time of the sacrifice. Timing is everything for God. It's everything. And it should be everything to us. Timing should be everything to us. We need to make sure we're moving and operating in God's timing. So when God says do it, you do it. We talked about this yesterday. Not doing it when I feel like it. God says deliver a word. God, I'm tired. I don't feel like it. It's been a busy day. Mondays are hectic in HR. But I knew that God, I talked to Apostle yesterday, and I knew that I was supposed to release this word tonight. So I need to be in place and in position. Because not only is this word from my household, but this word is going to release some things in your household. This is going to release some things in your life and in your children's lives and in their lives, which means I had to get in position for the perfect timing to release the word that God gave me. Now, had I just sat back and said, you know what, I'm going to wait 3 weeks. Disobedient. So there was a timing and a mandate. Next, cover your house with the sacrifice. In verse 7, it says, then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and the tops of the door frames of the houses where they eat the lamb. So you needed to cover your house with the blood of the lamb. That'll preach for itself. I don't even need to say anything there. I think that'll preach for itself. Cover your own house. Preparation for the sacrifice. In verse 8, it says, that same night, they are to eat the meat roasted over the fire. Again, over the fire. That's how you're supposed to cook it. You don't cook it the way you want it. You cook it the way God commanded it to be cooked. It is supposed to be roasted over a fire, along with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. Do not eat the meat or boil it in water, but do not eat the meat raw or boil it in water, but roast it over a fire with the head, the legs, and internal organs. Do not leave any of it till morning. If some of it is left till morning, you will burn it. In other words, we ain't putting no leftovers in Tupperware drawers and putting them up and we gonna have this meal tomorrow afternoon. No. Not only do I want the best of your offering, but if anything's left, burn it in the morning. Burn it in the morning. Get rid of it. That is the reason why God started off a few verses before that saying, you need to account for how much you guys can eat. And if there's anything that you can't eat, you need to connect with your neighbors, and you and your neighbors need to come together and say, you have a need, I can supply you. I got some extra provision that I can give to you. It's crazy to me how as Christians, we have things that other people need, but we hoard it all to ourselves. We don't feed the homeless. We don't clothe those people who need clothing. We don't speak a word to anybody. We walk past people with our mouths closed. We don't say, hey, how you doing? Good morning. Nothing. We ain't got nothing for nobody. Nothing for nobody. We are supposed to be vessels that God can use. That means that if I have something that you need, let me give it to you. Not be looking at you going, but what can you give me for it though? I'm going to give you this, but what you going to give me? God ain't asking you that. God is not asking you, what are you going to give me if I give you this? If I deliver your house, what are you going to give me? God is doing what he got to do to make sure his children are okay. But if he gives to you, it is your duty and responsibility to make sure you bless somebody else. Because if you don't bless others, that will cut off the blessing coming to you. You miss out on opportunities to be blessed because I'm holding on to the little bit that God has given me, not realizing that the same God who gave you that will give you so much more. It's more than that. That is just not even a portion of what he wants to do in your life. But I need to make sure you good ground to sow into. So I make sure you good ground and you sow into somebody else. I know, oh, she good ground. Let me give her something else. Let me pour something else into her. Let me give her a little bit extra. Let me give her a little bit. Let me do this for her. That thing that you've been praying to God to deliver for you, to give to you. God, give me more money so I can do this. How are you giving it back to God? What is God getting out of it? You get the more money and you forget that you prayed. You get the better job and you forget that you prayed. Where are you? Next thing we learn is your posture and position is an important part of the sacrifice. See, in verse 11, he says, this is how you are to eat it, with your cloak tucked into your belt, and your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. In other words, let's just talk about this, your posture. Let's talk about your posture and your position. It's important that you come to church and you come to God with the correct posture. I'm not walking in the sanctuary for everybody to see my new outfit and my new shoes and my new hat and my new hair. I'm coming in here to worship. I'm coming in here to lift up my hands. I'm coming in here to get before God. I'm coming in here to get on my face. And if I cry and sweat everything out, that's okay. If my makeup runs down my face, that's okay. I don't care what I look like to everybody else. I can have snot coming out of my nose. I am going in. I'm not leaving nothing here. Nothing will be left in me. I'm pouring it all out for God. I'm pouring everything in me out for God. And I'm not so caught up, worried about who looking, who thinking, who gonna say she did this, who gonna know what I did next, who gonna know what I did 6 years ago, 12 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't even care. You can go tell everybody. You really can. If you really want to know what it was, just ask me. I lived it. Why you gonna ask somebody else? Ask me what it was. I can tell you better than anybody else. But my posture is important. So I need to make sure I'm in the right posture and position so that God will hear me when I cry, when I plead, when I worship, that he will receive my worship. My posture is important. See, not only does your offering have to be spotless without blemish, but you have to be put together too. So not only do I want a perfect offering, but I need to make sure you perfect too. Don't bring me the largest offering with your heart just jacked up and a hot mess. And you only, I remember when in the church that I went to, where they would collect the offering and you had to walk down to the aisle, to the front of the church to put your offering in. And I mean, people would make big spectacles of dancing down the aisle and everything. And then they would, walk like they walking on a runway because I need everybody to see my outfit. Hey girl, how you doing? All the way up to the front. Because I need y'all to see me walking down. I need y'all to see my new red bottoms. I need you to see my new dress. I need you to see how my hair is laid out. I need you to see all of this. All of this, a hot mess. But my heart just as jacked up as it want to be. I come to church jacked up. I leave church jacked up. Because to me, worshiping in the sanctuary in that church was just about a fashion show. So I never really got the word that was supposed to be ministered there. I never got it. I missed some pieces. I know churches that will, at the end of service, when they collect the offering, the people who gave the most money, they would say who it is. Sister Jackie gave a $300 offering today. Brother Tony gave a $1,500 offering today. And everybody would know Brother Tony gave this offering. My offering is between me and God. Isn't that what it's supposed to be about? Or is it supposed to be a popularity contest to see who can give the most money this Sunday? We going back and forth, bidding wars, me and Brother Tony, because he gave $2,000 last week, I'm giving $3,000. Where is our heart, though? Is our heart in it? I can give the most perfect sacrifice in the world. I can find the most perfect lamb. But I don't follow any of the other instructions, and my heart is not properly postured before God. Does he receive it? Everything you will need for the journey, keep it on the table, and each piece is important. So I need y'all to listen to this part because I had to go back and say, God, I know it was a reason why you put this here. I need to understand why. But there were some pieces that made sense to me. See, he said, keep your cloak on. Don't take your cloak off. And you want to keep it tucked into your belt. Your cloak is what you wear outside in the elements to protect you from the elements. If it's raining, I got my cloak on. If it's a hot, sunny day and I got to be out in the field, then I need to make sure I'm covered so my body doesn't get sunburned or anything like that. I keep my cloak on. God said, don't even take it off when you come in the house. Keep it on while you're eating this meal because it's preparing you for the journey of what's coming next. See, the children of Israel, this was the last thing. And so they were getting ready to come out. They were coming out with things that God told them. Ask the Egyptians, ask Pharaoh and his family to give you things when you come out, give you gifting that you would need for your journey. So he said, keep your cloak on while you're eating because I'm preparing you for the journey. Don't you dare put that staff down. Keep that staff in your hand. What is a staff used for? When you're walking, it helps hold you up, but it also helps you fight against dangerous animals that come to attack you. My staff can be used as the weapon. Don't let your weapon go. Then he told them, keep your sandals on your feet. And I don't know about everybody else. Take your shoes off at the door in the Cunningham house. But God said, keep your sandals on while you're eating. And I imagine for most family families, for most traditions, they take their shoes off and they don't wear their shoes into the house. But God said, while you're eating, I need your shoes on your feet because I need to prepare you for where you're going next. There is going to be a journey that you're getting ready to take, and you're getting ready to exit out. So I need you to have all your exit stuff on. So in case you need to get up and run quickly, you ain't running around trying to grab stuff. Where I put my clothes, where I put my staff, where my sandals at? No, keep it on. Keep it on while you're eating. Don't even take anything off when you come in. When I think about my sandals, I think of ordered steps. My steps are ordered. Although I may not know where the promised land that God is getting ready to take us to, I know a God that does. So God said, keep your shoes on because I'm going to order your steps. I'm going to lead you to where you need to go. So keep your shoes on. Don't even take them off while you eat it. And then he said, eat in haste. In other words, I need you to eat quickly. This ain't where you be cute at the table. This ain't, wiping your mouth and all. No, eat fast. Eat fast. It makes me think about Gideon and the soldiers and how God told him, you want to look for the soldiers that lap water like dogs. Those are the people you want. Because those people were drinking in haste. I can't be cute with this thing. I can't make sure my hair look good while I'm still trying to eat in haste. I can't make sure, food ain't getting all over my shirt and all over my clothes while I'm eating in haste. No, I got to eat quickly. I got to be ready to move at any moment. And some of you are getting ready to exit, but you got to be ready. You got to be ready to move at any moment. When God tells you it's time to go, you got to be ready to jump to it. You don't have time to go prepare. You don't have time to go, let me get some stuff together. Let me grab my lotion. Let me grab a pen, grab my cell phone. You ain't got time for that. You got to have a to-go bag already ready. Everything gone. I got my shoes on. I don't know where we're going, but I know God knows. I don't know what we're going to do, what we're going to counter, but I know God knows. And so I'm trusting in God because this was the finish line. Now, I want to read one more thing before I wrap up because I'm getting ready to wrap everybody. Let's go to Exodus 12:21 through 24. Exodus 12:21 through 24. It says, then Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and said to them, go at once and select the animals for your families and slaughter the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop. Now, I looked up bunch. And it said that a bunch of hyssop would be like 3 strands of hyssop. 3 strands. When I think about the Holy Trinity, God said, grab 3. Grab a bunch of them. A bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood in the basin, and put some of the blood on top and on both sides of the door frame. None of you shall go out of the door of your house until morning. Stay where you are. When the Lord goes through the land to strike down the Egyptians, he will see the blood on the top and the sides of the doorframe and will pass over that doorway. And he will not permit the destroyer to enter your house and strike you down. 24, obey these instructions as lasting ordinance for you and your descendants. Okay, so let's go back up to 22. It says, take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in blood in the basin, and put some of that blood on top and on the both sides of your door frame. When I read that 2 weeks ago, first thing I heard is deliverance is a messy business. Deliverance is a messy business. First of all, can we agree that this is an uncommon and unusual command? You're going to take blood and rub it on your house, around your doorframe. We're supposed to take this blood and rub this blood all over the place. And this is supposed to signify that we're in covenant, like blood on my house, not paint. I imagine people would have been thinking at that time, what if, could we not use something else? Just my mind, just what? Okay, so kill the animal, use the blood. Okay, all right. So we're going to get some blood. Okay. Well, one thing to know about blood, I don't know if you know this, but it coagulates when it sits out in the air. So when it's sitting in the air, it starts to thicken and gets clumpy. Get clumps in the blood as it's sitting out in the air. Another thing you need to know about blood is blood has an odor. once it gets into the air. It does have an odor. And I imagine blood from an animal having a very distinctive odor, and it's been out all day. And we're putting it on the side of a building, on the doorway of our doors, on a hot, sunny day in Egypt. I imagine that it's a smell that it has. And I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. So I imagine that this blood has a smell. I imagine that it has an odor. I imagine that it's just, it's not something I would want to walk into. The next thing I imagine is that the blood of any animal is a sweet smelling aroma to anything that wants to any animals or anything like that. So you got to think wild animals will smell the smell of blood and come to it. Insects, flies would smell the smell of blood and want to come to it. It's a messy business. Can you imagine if you were the one who had to put the blood on the wall? And some say you had to sprinkle it. Some say you have to really get in there and put it all over the wall. Now you've got blood all over you. Covered in blood. Listen here. It's a messy business. And deliverance is usually a messy business. It is never really a clean thing. It's usually a process because I am coming out of what I've been in, and I'm stating this day that this is the end of this. I'm coming into agreement with God and his provisions for my life, his calling for my life, his word for my life. I am now coming back into the fold. I am saying I am his child. I am cutting off all communication with the enemy. I am cutting off all any agreements, anything that I've negotiated with the enemy to allow him to have precedence in my life. I'm cutting that off. Deliverance is a messy business. It may not be messy physical, like I may have blood on me or anything like that, but it can be messy emotionally. There is a complete switch and change that happens. I go from who I used to be to who God called me to be. Sometimes I lose friends. I lose relationships. Family members may not understand what I'm going through and may talk about me because of the change that God is calling me to. People may judge me and criticize me. I have to check. I don't hang out where I used to hang out. Now I don't really know what to do with my time. I guess I go to church all the time. I guess I get in my word. I guess I pray all the time. Because I got to break off some of those old habits. Like, for instance, maybe some of them old habits, maybe, every Thursday night I watch this particular show. But as God is starting to call you into his, he starts to tell you, this ain't a show you need to be watching on a Thursday night. Now, what do I do on Thursday night? I always do that. I always order a pizza. I always grab a soda. I sit in front of the TV. I watch this show. This is what I do. Now, what do I do? God, I need you to fill that time. I need you to fill that void. And a lot of us don't do that. And that's how we allow doors to reopen that pull us back out of position where God has called us to be in. To allow us to get back into a place of comfort, because being in this new place, I don't know what to do here. And if you're not rightly connected with the ministries that will help you develop and help you grow in your Christian walk, it will be easy for you to slide backwards. Or if you're the type of person who, when the pastor comes to you and says, you probably shouldn't be doing that, you may take that as they're talking about me, when really it's his duty or her duty as the pastor, as the head, as the shepherd of the sheep, to call you back into a fold. That's what a shepherd does. If you watch a shepherd out in the field and the sheep is wandering off, the shepherd not just gonna let the sheep wander off and go, okay, well, go do what you want to do. No, he's going to go chase after that sheep, and he's going to bring that sheep back into the fold. You're not supposed to be over there. Come over here. Can you accept correction? Going into where God is calling you calling you into position and into order is uncomfortable. It was not a way that they thought of. I would have never thought that we would have to go through these plays. I would have never thought that we have to sacrifice our best lamb. I would have never thought that now you're going to tell me to put blood on the door? And we can't leave out. And it might sound crazy that I'm sitting here with my cloak on and my staff in my hand and my sandals on my feet and I got to eat my food fast. This doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. God may call you to do some things to you that may confound you, that may confound everybody around you. They may not understand the position that God is calling you to or why he's telling you to do a specific thing. And to them, you may sound and look absolutely insane. I believe if the pharaohs were watching the children of Israel as they were doing all this, they were probably looking at them and shaking their head. Just look at him. Look. Oh, child, look at him. I don't understand what's going on over there. They look real crazy. And if you mess around and you let one of them people who are saying that God did not tell you to do this, if you mess around and sit there and listen to them at a time where God is giving you clear instructions, God, you do not get to go back to God and say, you know what? Susie told me it ain't make no sense, so I ain't do it. You know, I don't know. I mean, put blood on my door. I never really thought my firstborn was going to die anyway. But I didn't put no blood on my door, and I'm not sacrificing my best lamb. That is the best that I have. I don't have anything else. You better be careful. Be real careful. Thing number 2, there was a separation required. So God gave the children of Israel specific requirements that they had to do. But the Egyptians, they didn't have those requirements. You were not in the community. There was a visual divide between them. So you could see who were God's chosen people. All you had to do was walk down the street and look at doors. There was a visual of what was separating them from everybody else. If people were to look at you now, would they be able to tell that you are a child of God? Or would they look at you and go, she look like everybody else? No, I don't think she a Christian. Do Christians do that? Oh, I mean, he go to church, but is that what they would say about you? Or would they say, listen, if you want to get a prayer through, call her phone. If you want to get a prayer through, call his phone. If he said, God said, do this, then God said to do this. Or if she said, God said, go over here, then God said that. If they said that this is the word, then you know this is the word. If they live, their lives are a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. Is that your story? Is that your testimony? Or is your testimony and your story, I do what makes me feel comfortable. I'm a Sunday Christian. So on Sundays, we go to church. I put on my Sunday's best. I don't do nothing. I don't cuss all day. I don't listen to no rap music. I just be about God all day. But on Monday, I mean, it's no longer Sunday. It's Monday now. So I can do whatever I want on Monday. Is there a visual divide? If I didn't know who you were, if I never spoke to you, would I know that you are a child of God? By looking at you, is there anything that sets you apart, or do you look like everybody else? Have you conformed to the world? Have you conformed to fit in? Have you conformed to be accepted? Have you conformed so that everybody will gravitate to you? Have you conformed to have friends? Have you conformed so that you can get the job? Did you conform so you can get recognition? Did you conform to get in the relationship? Where did you conform? Did you conform so that he would marry you, so that you could get the ring and the proposal? So I'm going to let down my standards so that we could do this so that you'll want to marry me. Or did you stand up? Did you really mean it when you said, for God I live, for God I die? Or was it just something you were saying because you wanted everybody to accept it? Was the Christian walk just something you did on Sunday? Or it don't matter if you meet me on a Saturday night at 11:59, I'm still the same person. Where did you conform? You cannot be afraid to look crazy when doing what is commanded of you by God. visual separation is. I can't be afraid to look crazy to you. I remember we used to say, oh, she wanted him. Oh, he wanted him. Oh, that's a holy roller, honey. Honey, that's a Bible thumper. Girl, listen, she carried her Bible everywhere she go. Now I understand why they look like that to us. See, when you conform to the world, everybody who's not conformed to the world look a little insane. They don't look like me. And if they start to look crazy to you, then it's quite obvious where you stand. But it's not too late. It's not too late for you to say, you know what? God, I really, seriously want you to come into my life. God, I wholeheartedly want you to live in me. I want to know your word. I want an encounter. I don't want you to be just the God that I meet on Sunday mornings when the band is playing at church and the choir is singing and the Holy Spirit fills the room. I don't want you to just be reserved to that one spot. I want you to be reserved to every spot of my life. I want you to show up on my job. I want you to show up in my car. I want you to show up in my bedroom. I want you to show up inside of me. I want to be the visual representation so when people see me, they see you. God, let it be that. People will not understand this. They don't understand this. But one of the other things that he commanded for them to do was to stay in the house. That was the commandment he gave. Stay in the house. After the sun goes down, don't get up, don't leave out, don't go nowhere. Stay in the house. There is an importance that you stay where you're supposed to be. Because if you leave out of the house, you leave up under the covenant that God has over you, you leave out of your protection, you are now open to whatever the enemy wants to present in your life. You are now open yourself to being pulled back to where God has brought you from. So stay in the house. Stay in your word. Stay in relationship. Stay in covenant with God. It's important. You guys, I am Cunningham of DREEMM. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I want to thank you guys for sharing this word with me. I pray for each and every one of you. The DREEMM team, we are all praying for you and your family. If you have any prayer requests whatsoever, make sure you reach out to the DREEMM team. You can reach us by phone or by email. We will definitely pray for you. You can also leave your prayers on our website. We have a prayer wall. We do pray for the members and the people who put their prayer requests on that prayer wall. So make sure you do that. We love you all, and I will see you guys again next week. Guys, be safe.